What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Game Time Discussions. I'm Emery Cuzzy. I'm here with Dustin Zimmerman, and we are going to be going over the tight ends and offensive linemen for the summer scouting. This group is interesting. I don't know that it's as strong as last year's group, but some things we'll talk about is on this offensive line grouping. The interior offensive line is really strong. So we'll get into all those guys. But yeah, happy to be back doing some college stuff after getting off of the best ball and everything else last week. So let me pull up the presentation. Cool. To start off with the tight ends, talking about Eli Stowers. He's going to be mostly a slot receiver in the end of the day. He's kind of that new mold of tight end. He's got 72.2% out of the slot. He's an athletic pass catching style tight end, but really what it comes down to is he was a 4-star quarterback coming out of high school, coming out of Denton Guyer. Thought that was obviously going to play with Diego Pavia and having all this stuff. He lost his opportunity, became a tight end. He had only one drop last year. He's going to be one of the best at the combine, and he does really well finishing runs and stuff like that. Blocking in space is good, but he's not much of an inline blocker. He's not going to give you that side of it.
Yeah, seeing the Eli Stowers growth was awesome this past year because when I remember him, or I hadn't even heard the name in a couple of years because he couldn't crack the depth chart at A&M. He was fourth string for like 2 years, I think. And then I think he went third string once because every other quarterback got injured or something.
Right.
And then he was like, he's transferring, hopefully he finds a good ground to, go get a shot at. And then he comes out and balls out at tight end. I was like, oh, that's awesome. Good for him.
Yeah. Gonna be possible. I don't know if he'll be top 50 on most boards right now, but I think that if you just like who's gonna project to be in the top possible first round type of talk, it's definitely Eli. There's one other guy we'll get to in a little bit that we'll put in that little range, and then of course our dark horses could always get in there. But he's best bet to be the number one tight end off the board in my opinion. The next guy is Jack Andrews. He's actually transferring from Cal. Cal's kind of losing the bulk of their offense. Jaden Ott is going to Oklahoma, and then their quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, is going to Indiana. Mm-hmm. So Cal kind of dropping off, but Texas has been, rinse and repeat at the tight end position.
Yeah.
He's about 50-50 inline to slot, which is kind of what they like. That's what they had last year with Gunnar Helm. And it's just can he come in and be as productive as Helm and Sanders, who were both fourth rounders? He had 56 receptions, 623 yards last year, and 2 touchdowns. He had 16 more catches than anybody else on the team at Cal. So he does know how to be a primary receiver, but he's going to a place where he doesn't have to be. And those are actually the best places for tight ends when they're like the second or third option and then the best red zone threat, kind of thing.
Yeah, he's got a really good shot to prove himself this year, and we know how much Sark likes to use his tight ends. And with Arch Manning being there, he's going to rely on his tight end a lot, especially one who's a veteran. So he's got a really good shot to raise his stock.
Right, and as you can see, I left Ball State up there for Tanner Koziel. That is incorrect. I apologize. That is not supposed to be Ball State. That is Houston. He is the interesting this offseason. He was super interesting. Dustin and me talked about it on the transfer video. He transferred to Wisconsin and then talked about going back to Ball State and then ended up going to Houston where it should be on the thing here. But he's a 6'7" tight end, 51% out of the slot. He's basically a receiver. He will be Connor Wegman's new favorite receiver. 94 receptions, 839 yards, and 8 touchdowns in 2024 with Ball State. So he very productive this last year. And he obviously has a very weird story, but he did have 26 contested catches, which is awesome. Thank you for fixing that. He is at Houston. 65% of the time he caught his contested catches, which was really good to see. So basically a big upside receiver, jump ball type of threat. But he has one of the weirdest offseason movements of any player.
Yeah, there's one a little bit later on the offensive line that was also interesting and a fun one from a couple of years ago. But yeah, he is a weird story. Wisconsin legend for 4 months, went there to party, not to play school, and then found his landing spot in Houston, where I think he'll do pretty well at.
Yeah, I wasn't actually as high on him. Like when I watched his film, I was like, "Oh, these stats are great," but I wasn't as high. Houston is bad in a more difficult conference. I think
Yeah.
he kind of lacks some of that athleticism and separation, making him have
Hmm.
to be a jump ball guy. 6'7", though, of course, is really nice when you are that type of guy where you just
Yeah.
go up and make plays. He currently just uses his height to make plays, though, and I don't think he can continue doing that at the Big 12 level. So we have to see. Hopefully, there's some sort of production change and like him getting better at other things rather than
Yeah.
just throw it up to me kind of thing.
Yeah.
Next up is Terrence Carter. He's Texas Tech. He is a transfer from Louisiana Raging Cajuns, and Texas Tech has 20 transfers of note this offseason. Just they did everything in the transfer portal, adding another piece. He played 68, 69-ish% in line this last year, so that's really good to see. I mean, he's a capable blocker. He's a little bit smaller, but really good with the ball after the catch. He had 8.4 yards after the catch, which I thought was awesome. Very athletic style, but small, like smaller but quicker. Reminds me of like that Harold Fannin from last year build. And he's a willing and capable chess piece, in my opinion, in an offense that is going to have so many new players. I don't think he's going to like be the guy that makes it hard on the coaching staff. He's going to be like, I'll play whatever. I'll do whatever you need me to. And I love to see that. And he can kind of do whatever you need him to as a tight end himself. So that's pretty cool. I think he has a cap ceiling as a pro, but he's going to be a great college player, in my opinion.
Yeah. I
So,
think he'll fit in really well with a high octane, what should be a high octane Tech offense with all their new additions and all the little targets they have now.
sure. Yeah.
Um, and obviously he's elevating his own stock going from the Raging Cajuns to the Red Raiders, who absolutely decimated the rest of the country in the portal and essentially played a video game on their own with the country.
Right.
But like you said, really bright spot, or one of the many bright spots for them, but definitely a tight end.
Yep. And then the last guy, possibly the best tight end in this class, is Max Clare. Going to Ohio State, he is transferring out of Purdue. And the hardest part for him is going to be going from a 1-11 team where he was the only, like, he was the main pass catcher. He had 320 more yards than anybody else on the team to a national champion. And he's
Yeah.
going to be the third option on the team rather than the number one option. Well, I think that it's actually going to be better for him. And most tight ends, I will say the same thing is like they're not going to be the premier cat pass catcher. That's not the best spot for them. He is the
Right.
same way. I mean, he's going to play next to Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate. That's perfect for him because he's going to do really well in the red zone. He's going to do a lot of things, in those like intermediate routes, getting open, finding soft zones. He's a very intelligent player and he's a really good athlete. So I like Max Clare a lot. He would probably be one of the dark horses if he wasn't already so highly thought of at this
Yeah.
point in his career, even knowing he played for Purdue.
Yeah,
So
I know he was at one point at least the kind of talk of the town as far as watching the tight end transfer portal news coming out, and basically every team had their we might get Max Clare, he's visiting this week, and then of course he goes to Ohio State, which was anticlimactic for the rest of us. But huge pickup, and then yeah, he should do really well, and I completely agree with him not being the first option should only elevate his ability to show his skills.
yeah, I think that he's gonna he might even outperform his overall yards and receptions and touchdowns from last year and not be the
Yeah,
number one option just because Purdue's offense was just so bad.
right.
And so there's just a lot more. There might be more mouths to feed, but there's also a lot more like elevation in the way of like they're going to be pushing the ball down the field. He's going to be, they're going to actually be moving the ball and not going 3 and out
Right.
every time. So I think that's
Exactly.
good at least. And then let's go over to the dark horses. We've got two on this position. I wanted to talk about a couple guys that are they're actually really different. Both of these guys are really different. So we'll start with Joe Royer out of Cincinnati. He had 50 receptions, 522 yards, and 3 touchdowns last year. He had an even split from the inline and the slot. But I just think this guy is truly legit. And unfortunately, I wasn't the first one that got the opportunity to say how legit I thought he was because Todd McShay did put him in the first round of his mock draft, which I thought was okay. That's
Wow.
even still, I think Joe Royer is really good. I don't know that I think he's that good, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I really, really like him. He might be my favorite tight end in this class on film that I watched. 6 foot
Yep.
5, 255 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
athletic, movement ability. He had 50 plus contested catch percent. His biggest issue is probably his age. I mean, he's a little bit older, but and also of course his overall production, because I did say 50 for 522 and 3, but he's kind of a late bloomer,
Yeah.
and I think he has all the traits to take that step as a dark horse, and be an opportunity to be the number one tight end in this class. That's the biggest thing for me, is just like who can make the biggest difference between their draft stock now to the end of the year. Joe
Yeah.
Royer is possibly, he could go in the first round. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that Todd's crazy. Like, that's how much I like this guy. That
Yeah.
that is not out of the realm of possibilities. So I think that Joe is a very interesting player for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he had 4 total catches in his first 3 years at Ohio State, and then he comes out last year with Cincinnati and drops 50 catches for 522 yards. So, like you said, late bloomer, and it appears he took a pretty big bloom there.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm excited to see what he can do growing off that too. If nothing else, his confidence has obviously risen. He's theoretically only gotten better physically.
Right.
Cincinnati now knows they have him to use. So yeah, I completely agree. I don't know about first round yet, but I am excited to see how much he leaps.
Well, yeah, and I mean it's a projection, and of course
Yeah,
Todd is like really projecting him, but I mean
right.
I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities. I don't know that
No, no,
I think second round would make a lot more sense, obviously,
sure,
but that's also not really taking a full stand, in my opinion, on a guy that's this
right,
good. Um,
exactly.
the next guy is Kenyon Sadiq from Oregon. He backed up Terrence Ferguson last year, and you might remember him. I actually put the picture of this happening on the page, but when he hurdled over the Penn State player in the Big Ten championship down the sideline, scored the touchdown. He's another smaller, athletic build type
Mm,
where he gets in space. You can do a lot of things with him as a gadget kind of guy, and he's still a tight end. Like, he's that kind of athlete, but like at the tight end spot. So I thought it was really good. He split his inline and slot snaps, so he plays both. Has a lot of quick twitch and movement skills that I don't normally see at the tight end position, because normally you save that quick twitch for the wide receivers and the slot receivers that really have that upside in space. Whoa, he
yeah.
has that, but he can also block if you ask him to. So I thought that was really good. He was a 4-star coming out, and I just want to mention this before we go to the whatever. He ran a 10.7 100-meter dash, so he's legit fast.
Yeah,
He has all the athletic traits, and of course he's all projection because he didn't even start last year. But he's playing on a team that shows upside and also produces NFL players at a high clip, and I think he could be another one of those guys. So
yeah. I think my favorite part about him is being an Idaho prospect because you don't see those very often,
sure,
and he was very highly rated there, obviously. But also the fact that, like you said, he's 6'3", 245, and his PFF grade, albeit on not as many snaps as Ferguson, but his run block was 78, and his receiving was also like 75.7. So, like you said, maybe a little smaller, but he can still do the things you need him to do.
yeah, very impressive as a player for his limited time. So he's a projection, but we have seen some really good things out of him already. So it's not
Yeah,
a complete projection, I guess. But both of these guys, I think, could be first rounders. I
sure.
think truly second round grade is where they should go. And with Sadiq, he's just smaller, so I don't know how the NFL will like think of him when he gets an
Yeah,
opportunity. But he is a little bit smaller, but I think that he still has a lot of upside.
no,
We'll go over offensive tackle now. And the offensive tackle class, starting off, everybody's favorite, everybody's favorite guy to hype up right now is Caden Proctor out of Alabama.
mm-hmm.
Now, I am not as high on Caden Proctor, and I think I have a problem with Alabama offensive linemen, truly. They're all kind of the same. They are all
Yeah,
heavy footed, they have no quick twitch muscles, they
mm-hmm.
they lose to speed rushers. It just reminds me of Tyler Booker and J.C. Latham in the last two classes, and neither of those guys I was as high on. Tyler
Yep,
Booker at least played guard, so his like woes in the pass blocking situation is like kind of made like smaller. It's a little bit smaller, but J.C.
sure.
Latham and Caden Proctor, they're gonna get the same issues, and we can go all the way back to Evan Neal. That's just kind of what they do, and the kind of who they produce is these
Yeah,
types of players. 14 pressures, gave up 3 sacks. He had a 4.3% pressure rate, which is not very good. We want to see that in the low threes, high twos. and even better if it's even lower than that. So he's got to bring that down. It's all a projection. Everybody wants to project. He's based on potential, all potential. And so right now, I just don't know that his potential and projection is where I line up with everybody else. Because he is huge. He's a massive human being.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
So,
massive. And in 2023, 24/7 Sports even had him on their freak list, which is of very large athletic humans who are
mm-hmm,
playing college football. So,
mm-hmm.
and spoiler alert, I've seen the rest of the list, obviously. And if you're not a fan of Bama linemen, you got a few more coming.
We do. That we will. Yes, we will talk about those guys. Um, I'm gonna mess this up, guys. I'm definitely
Mm-hmm.
messing this one up. I'll
Yeah,
do
you
my
are.
best. But
You're
wait,
gonna mess it up.
it's not even gonna be the only name I mess up on this list. So
Not
we'll
even
just
close.
no,
No,
no, no. This is Francis Mauigoa, I want to
that's,
say.
that's how I would have pronounced it.
Okay, cool. So out of Miami, he played right tackle this last year in front of Cam Ward. Only gave up one sack on the year, 19 total pressures. He's at 3.3% pressure rate, so a little bit better. He's deceivingly athletic, and I wonder if he'll move over to the left tackle side of the line this year. Well, we haven't seen anything yet, but I really like his footwork and his foot movement. Screens on the second level is good. His pad level, though, really bad. Bending at the knees and waist, things that you have to get better at.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he has the athleticism to get better at those things. He's got a really good anchor in pass rush against the pass rush. And because of the fact that he stands so tall, he gets beat with speed and dip moves. He will improve. He did improve a lot though from 2023 to 2024. So we might just see another big jump. He is a top 15 player on everybody's big board right now, and so is Caden Proctor. So both of those guys are just very projection esque, but they do have the size and the athleticism that you're like, okay, I understand why they're there. But there's another guy in the top 15 that we'll talk about that I think is just so much like otherworldly, already showing it on film, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah. He was Mauigoa here was a 5-star 99 rating according to 24/7 Sports. So
yes, and I
he's
think he's out of
been
California.
yeah he's had that highly rated, highly projected status for what I don't know, 6-7 years now.
Yeah,
if you
yeah.
want to count his high school recruiting, so no surprise that he ends up here on our list.
Next guy is my favorite tackle in the class. He's not. I can't put him on dark horse when he's the third ranked tackle in top
Yeah,
15. But
no, not with all his
Spencer,
accolades, you can't.
no, yeah, exactly. Spencer Fano out of Utah is my favorite tackle though in this class. 93.6 run grade, 79.5 pass grade. He's not the same size as Caden Proctor and Francis Mauigoa. He's a little bit smaller, but he's got that athleticism that I love. And if you know me, and if you've watched this show, my favorite tackles are super high athletes that are like tight ends that are playing tackle, basically. That's what this guy is to me.
Yeah.
He gave up 14 total pressures. He had one sack given up, 3.3%. He's a tad smaller, like I said. He's 6'5", 304. But I'm going to tell y'all something, okay? Because I think, and I truly believe this, he will probably run a sub 4.940, sub 4.840. He's freaking fast. And I'm going to put this into perspective for everybody. The players that have run sub 4.840s, for all time, there's been four of them. Taron Armstead, he ran a 4.71. Lane Johnson, 4.72. And Joe Staley, a 4.78. All those guys are all pro caliber players. The next one, I just wanted to mention this guy. Trent Williams ran a 4.81. Okay. So we're just going to talk about four guys right there that he is very close to. And there's not very many guys that ran sub 4.8. There's only one other guy that ran sub 4.8, and he was a bust. He's the only bust out of all these guys. All of these guys were about the same height and weight as Fanu is right now. 6'5" to 6'6", 303 to 315. But something that really excites me about him is I just love how strong he is and how scrappy. I don't know if we talk about scrappy enough with offensive linemen, but finding a way to win, that's what this guy does. Constantly working, constantly finding a way to against good defensive linemen to win. The athleticism is going to help him so much in his pass pro at the next level. I mean, sure, his biggest con is he wants to play too hard sometimes. He lunges and misses at times. But
Right.
like I think this guy is awesome. He's my favorite offensive lineman, and he's just really good at football. So Spencer Fana, Utah.
I always love when the metrics and analytics match up with what everyone's seeing in real life because
Right.
he's so highly ranked on PFF. And then, just to name a couple, he's a 2024 All American, AP second team, Walter Camp second team, All Big 12 first team, coaches and AP media, earned a spot on the 2024 PFF midseason All American team,
Yep.
was a freshman All American. The guy has proven everything he needed to up to this point.
Absolute like otherworldly type of stud, and I think
Yeah,
that he is absolutely deserving of the ranking. While I think Caden Proctor and Maugoa are more projection esque,
right.
so if I had to like make a ranking right now, Fanu is number one overall in that ranking of like who is the best player
Sure.
in this class. Now we're gonna go over to the next guy. It's Isaiah World out of Oregon. He's actually a transfer
Oh,
from Nevada,
we talked about
transferring into
him.
Oregon. He had 15 pressures last year, one sack. Massive guy, just massive. He makes all okay. He played for Nevada, but if you watch the film, it's just like he makes everybody look itty bitty on the
Right.
film. 6'8", 310. Just he can't play guard, so don't worry about
No.
that. He's
No.
got good length. A lot of Nevada's offense was really quick, so similar to what Oregon does, and I thought that that was obviously something that you look for when you're a coach trying to transfer up. He lacks a lot of overall athleticism, though, but it's more so like he lacks the athleticism, but he's so big that he just is able and capable of getting in the right places. So I
Sure.
want to see what happens when he plays better competition in the Big Ten.
No.
Length is really helps him in pass pro. Obviously, I mean he can block with his leg behind him, when he's kicking, rather than just like having to use his hands all the time. He had a really good game against SMU, so that's another reason why I think we can talk about him as a little bit better, because when he did play the good teams, he played well.
No.
Obviously, when he gets to the Big Ten, they're all good, and we'll see how he does. But yeah, he's run blocking will really he'll really try to lay the boom. But he lunges and he misses sometimes. Being at that height, you lunge way too often in general. So
Sure.
those types of things, we'll just have to see how he transitions from Nevada to Oregon.
I think it'll be good for him in terms of, like you said, playing better competition in games. But that's not even to talk about every day in practice. He's going up against Oregon guys instead of Nevada guys,
Sure. Yeah.
which is instantly going to make him better.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it translates onto the field, and he can use that size and build on that athleticism to become the complete unit we're hoping for here.
Yeah, and he's very big. The next guy's big. He's the guy on the screen there from Rice. It's
Yeah.
Ethan Onyenwa from that's going to Ohio State from Rice. A guy that only played 9 games this last year. He had 9 pressures in those games, one sack given up, 2.6% pressure rate. But his metrics that you were talking about all the metrics earlier, he doesn't have the best metrics, even coming from Rice. So I thought that that was
Yeah.
interesting. But he is one of the transfer guys that we have to like think about. Massive step up from Rice. Statistically, one of the better pass blockers overall. But when you talk about Rice versus Ohio State, those are obviously very big differences and things. He
Mm-hmm.
needs to lose weight. He is 345 pounds right now, and I'd expect him
Yeah.
to be 325 when he comes in. He lunges a lot too. So he just doesn't have the best base. And I want to
Yeah.
see him get better. I think coaching will help him get better. That'll be a big thing. But biggest question marks with Ethan, I don't think he's like the old offensive tackles at Ohio State, if that makes sense. I don't
Mm-hmm.
think like throughout the years I've really liked offensive tackles from Ohio State. I don't know that I'm going to like him as much next year when we do this again, or I guess in 9 months when we do this again.
Yeah, I mean, I always love seeing a guy who can move up from Rice all the way to Ohio State. It's just
Sure,
awesome to see a big jump like that. And then he was ranked what, one, two, three, four, five, six, seventh for the tackles. So
transfer.
as far as the transfer portal, yeah, seventh. So people are expecting him to step up. And my same opinion with World holds with him. He's going to be playing better competition. He's going to have to improve. He's got the size to. He needs to lose some weight, like you said. That's a massive human. Um, but it's one of those things you either get good enough and improve, or you lose your spot on the depth chart. And I just don't see that happening with him.
Yeah, currently, if I had to like rank all these guys, he would be my last ranked tackle in
These
this group
players.
of this
Yeah,
group. Yeah, but the
that's fair.
difference is he has some of the upside to be much higher on that list, and I think
Yeah,
that a lot of people are projecting him because he is going to Ohio State, and Ohio State puts out good tackles. They do.
right.
So
Yeah,
I think that that's a little bit of like the bias with him, but I'm
yeah.
not as high on him at the moment, if that makes sense.
I mean, I guess ideally, especially with Ohio State development, he loses some weight and builds on that athleticism and his
Right.
skills, and which theoretically should only get easier with him losing the excess weight.
We hope. We can hope, right?
I said theoretically.
Yeah, of course. The next guy is Emil Wagner out of Notre Dame. He's a right tackle. He had a 78.1 run grade and a 72.2 pass grade. He had some issues with pressures, though. He had 29 pressures on the year. They played 16 games, though. So you have to also remember they played a lot of talent at the end of the year. He played a lot
Yeah,
more games. Injuries happen. You play through them, you know. And he gave up 5.5% pressure rate, which is way too high, way too high. That's the worst on the list here. Um, and I want to say that Abdul Carter, and of course we're talking about one of the best edge rushers in college football, the best edge rusher in college football, truly. Last year, number
yeah,
3 overall pick, Abdul Carter made him look really bad, and
yeah,
that was with his shoulder injury. That was that game when he had that shoulder injury. So,
yeah,
um, he's more of a skinny athletic build, which is good. That's more of the type that I like. Probably more athletic than most of this list. Not an elite athlete by any means, though. Currently much better as a run blocker than he is pass blocker. And of course, if you look at what Notre Dame does, that makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
Has the tools, has the tools to be a first round pick. But truly, he needs to improve on his pass blocking, and consistency will be his biggest key. Is just like doing the right things every play, not going to wow you in anything, but going to be good at everything. And that's kind of the guy you're looking at here. So,
Yeah, I mean, he's also going to need to step up and play better because we've talked about it on a couple other episodes. But their QB situation is kind of a huge question mark since they didn't utilize the portal.
right.
So they're going to have a red shirt coming in with very little experience. So it does give him a chance to step up and light a fire under him or whatever idiom you want to use with that. He's got the talent there, just got to use it and not get embarrassed by a really good edge rusher.
Right. And I mean, of course, I'm talking about Abdul Carter. I don't want to like take that away, but like he did
Right,
have
right.
some issues, obviously, not just with Abdul Carter giving up
Yeah,
29 total pressures this last year.
right.
Like the next guy, we're going to talk about the next guy now. Jennings Dunker from Iowa. Iowa's offense is awful. We can just talk about it. Their running game is good. Their quarterback play is awful. 13 total pressures, 2 sacks, 4.8% pressure grade. 13 pressures and a 4.8% pressure grade. That's not very many pass blocking opportunities, to say the least.
Yeah,
Offense is definitely a hindrance for him. They run a lot of downhill runs. Not confident in him as a pass blocker, though, personally, right now. Not a strong anchor. Doesn't look comfortable. Technique is bad. Just bad. I don't have a
yeah,
better word for it. Hands do translate. Like I think his hands translate from the run game to the pass game. Like I think he does a good job getting his hands in the right places and stuff like that. Has a very long way though as a pass blocker, and I don't know that I was going to help him get any better. And that's kind of my issue. Is like, can we project him to be better next year? If Iowa is going to be like, hey, we're going to run the ball 100 times a game, we're going
right.
to pass block 12, and we're not going to really teach it in practice. It's one of those things. But he
Yeah,
is good at run blocking. He had a 90.2 grade, and he good wide base, great hand placement, powerful punch. Just getting after it. He's one of those guys. He didn't have my favorite tape though. I'll be honest, and he's ranked towards the bottom of the offensive tackles on our list, even knowing he would be higher on a lot of lists right now.
yeah. Speaking of a guy who just gets after it, if you've seen a picture of him or have seen any film on him, then you completely understand because the guy has an absolute head of hair that
Yeah,
he's growing out over there,
he does it.
and
Yeah.
beard, and it looks majestic. If nothing else, an absolute mustache on the guy too. So, um,
Yes, actually, we're
like,
gonna next year during the off season, we're actually gonna be grading on how
yeah,
nice your hair is.
yeah, it
So everybody
slightly
start growing
moves
it
you
out
up.
now. Yeah, exactly. That's really what we're grading on. We
Yeah,
don't care about your film. It's the
that's the
hair.
most important metric. Where like PFF doesn't tell you the key stuff, only,
That's
only
why
the
we
run and
really
pass
liked
blocking.
Yeah, that's why we were a big fan of Quinn Miners when he came out.
Yes,
He had
exactly.
the belly and the hair, just doing it
Yep.
for you.
But like you said, 90.2 run block grade, 76.2 passing, and Iowa just doesn't give the opportunity for him to improve that. They went through some coaching changes, new offense is supposed to be implemented. I highly doubt it, honestly. But he really needs to get those opportunities to improve the pass blocking for that higher projection.
Right. Then the next guy, Caleb Triernan. I know I messed it up. Let's say
Probably
it's
Tiernan.
Tiernan. Let's say it's
Yeah,
Tiernan. I
sounds
don't know,
better.
dude. Left tackle, 74.8 run grade, but an 88.9 pass grade, really good in the pass. He had
Mhm.
13 total pressures. He had no quarterback hits, but he had 3 sacks given up. Confusing. He had, most of his pressures were just like, pretty simple, and then he would miss really bad. So
Gotcha.
whatever. Very comfortable in pass pro though. Issues when he misses is it results in a sack though. One of those things. One
Right.
pressure versus Washington and Maryland. One. Both of them were sacks. That's just what happens in his world right now. Really solid games against good competition. Ohio State, Illinois, Michigan. All those were really good games for him. He lacks some athleticism, but I think he might be one of the safest, like, second, third rounders you're gonna see. Where you're like, I'm not projecting this guy. He's just safe player. Ozzy Trapillo reminds me of Ozzy Trapillo last year. Very safe player at the offensive tackle spot. But he's just got a really good base and he plays well in pass pro. Real tall, like slightly athletic, not super athletic guy. He does lack a little bit of that, but at the same time, like I think that when he does well, he has enough athleticism for, if that makes sense. So I actually think he would. I like him a lot more than current rankings on most boards because I
Yeah.
think he's just very safe.
Yeah, I mean he's a huge guy, 6'7", 329 according to PFF.
Yeah, he's huge.
Um, did play basketball and he was varsity in basketball too in high school, so he's got some level of athleticism. He's learned the footwork and everything. He's not just big,
Right.
but completely agree with the rest of what you said. Real
Yeah.
quick, in your opinion, how much is quarterback play affecting like the one pressure being one sack versus a guy who had a better quarterback who has a better IQ or pocket presence? And then how
Well,
does that affect these guys' rankings and metrics and all that?
it will affect in just like time of throw, like if you
Yeah.
hold the ball longer and stuff like that. It
Right.
just depends. It depends if you have a pocket passer. It depends if you have a
Yeah.
moving quarterback and stuff like that. Of course, these are universal numbers that we just kind of talk about, but they don't tell the whole story on each sack
Right. Right.
necessarily. We're going to talk about another guy here in a second, but he's got a very mobile, athletic quarterback, and he only gave 1 sack up. While you're not going to get that at Northwestern, I guess is what I'm trying to get at, or
Right.
Iowa.
Right.
Think about Iowa. Iowa had what was his name? Started with M. He couldn't move. He couldn't do anything. The quarterback for Iowa.
Which
We
one?
I the one that started last year, who I
Mm,
couldn't stand
Um,
and couldn't even get 130 yards passing, so I just like left his name out of my brain.
oh, what was his name?
Oh my
Uh,
gosh, yeah, he couldn't even. Yeah, but that kind of quarterback will hinder will hinder an offensive tackle when you're just talking about holding the ball too long, not knowing what to do with it, things like that.
yeah. Okay. I
So,
figured as much. Didn't know if there was any insight you had on that.
yeah, I mean, good quarterback play will help your line at all points, right?
Makes
You
sense.
know, kind of like that. And then let's go over to our dark horse, Blake Miller out of Clemson. And like I said, as you can see in the background, there's Craig Nick staring at the camera. He's a very athletic quarterback. Helps Blake Miller because he has good upside, his
Mm-hmm.
movement and stuff like that. Talking about Blake Miller, though, he played both right tackle and left tackle. Currently in this picture, he's at the right tackle spot. He had 18 pressures, 1 sack given up, 3.1% pressure rate. Really good movement skills and high level athleticism, good feet and pass pro, capable blocker in space. A lot of people, and it's a thing. Most people that down Blake Miller and say he's not good, it's because he does not weigh enough. He needs to gain weight. He needs to be a little bit more physical and stuff like that. But the athleticism is all over it. You know what I mean? He's got all that. So truly, it'll come down to how his offseason was, if he gained the weight that he needs to play at a high level. Um, just those types of things that he can control. That's what's going to make him that much better. And he stands a little tall. He has that Will Campbell stance. And power rushers will give him some issues because of the fact that he just doesn't, but he's cut from the cloth that I like. He's cut from that Fano, Spencer Fano, Christian Darrisaw, Josh Simmons, high athletic movers that can pass block in space and move in space. Those are the kinds of guys that I really like. And those are also the guys that have the highest overall ceiling, in my personal opinion.
Yep.
Giving Blake Miller one of those high ceilings is why he is our dark horse.
Yep. And I mean, you really don't need to look very far here when you see the head of hair he has. Again, the hidden metric that we have in our back
Absolutely.
pockets of the database.
He
But
he
you
needs to
want,
add that facial hair. That's the problem. That's the
yeah.
grit that he needs. He needs like a
Hey,
beard,
I don't
and
know
he'd be
what's
ready
under
to
the
go.
chin strap, so I'm not going to judge too much yet. I need to see how he comes out, throughout the summer, and if he lets it grow, then we'll be there. I'm there on the high projections.
For
But
sure.
this is a guy who has a ton of weightlifting records at his old high school. He won a wrestling championship, ran track, did all the different things. But like you said, just needs to put on some weight. And then hammers in Dabo's mantra of "You come here." He was the first commit in their 2022 class, and has only grown from there. And Dabo continues to get homegrown talent.
Yep. He was definitely one of the most interesting and fun players to watch. And his style is different than most players, so he will
Yeah.
be, kind of something we'll talk about throughout the summer and then into next year and stuff like that.
Yep.
He'll be a guy we'll talk about because he plays for Clemson, and we're going to be talking about Clemson a lot.
Pretty late into the season.
Yeah.
Pretty and postseason probably.
Right. Let's go over to the interior offensive line and talk about those other Alabama interior offensive linemen. Why don't we,
There they
right?
are.
Yeah, they did not make our dark horses list, but I do actually like Parker Brailsford, the center from Alabama. Jaden Roberts is the guard that played opposite Tyler Booker last year. With Parker, oh, with Parker, he had 7 pressures given up this year, but 0 sacks, 1.8% pass pressure rate. He is a smaller overall player. He's 6'2", 290. Got a really good base though, wide. Gets after it. Pass blocking is solid. Uses his hands to get well positioned, and we call it remove and replace. He'll remove his hand off and then reshoot it and to get better positioning on it real quick. I like to see that. He does have some difficulty against some really fast athletes when they third down and they send like some of those better pass rushers in there. But he's smart, good against stunts, and I like his athletic build overall. He can run any type of offense you want, zone, gap, whatever you need. So he's one of those smaller centers that we see that. And I'm okay with the smaller center. Some people want their centers to be a little bit bigger and a little bit wider, beefier. But I think that he's got a fine build. If you're just like put 10 pounds on, you're 6'2", 300, we're good to go. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely. And then I don't know if you mentioned the exact grades he got, but 82.1 pass block,
Mm-hmm.
61.4 run block. So obviously an area he needs to work on. And then, like you said, on the third downs and whatnot when they're sending the athletes at him.
Right. Next guy is Jaden Roberts, Alabama. Right guard, 71.3 run grade, 63.0 pass grade. He gave up 1 sack this last year at 11 pressures. Guards that have so I said the tackles need to be under 4%. They need to be at the low threes, high twos. Well, as you get closer to the ball, to the center of the field, you need to be even lower. 1% is really normal for a center. Jaden Roberts has a 4.3% pressure rate, and that's way too high. Another big, less athletic player for Alabama. Plays mostly with power. He overextends, he leans. I don't know, man. Like, I'm not as high on this build that they bring into Alabama. And in recent years, I've been right because they have not been winning national championships. They have not.
Well,
And hey, hold on. What?
well, okay. To be fair, last year not having, I mean, this Saban being done is a big deal for
okay,
last
fine,
year
fine,
at
fine.
least.
But like, what I mean by that is like they always leaned on high athletes at the outside of positions and defense to win
Yeah,
games.
right.
I think that their offense of like at least their offensive line hasn't really performed in a way that I've been excited. And when I'm watching film on these guys, I'm not like, oh yeah, this is the part of the field that I'm like, they're better
Right.
always.
Right.
So to have so many guys go into the draft from these positions that play these types of ways, it's just not my style. Definitely
Sure.
not my style. We're watching the guys, at least since this podcast has started, that have done this and,
Hmm.
in the NFL, waiting for them to either play well or play poorly. We don't want anybody to play poorly. It's not that.
Sure.
But, we want to also be like, they should not have been drafted number 7 overall, JC Latham, or number 13 over 12 overall to the Dallas Cowboys last year, Tyler Booker. It's more so that thing. It's like, hey, like these types of players do not fit what the NFL wants, in my personal opinion. And that's all.
Yeah.
I think that they are fine if they're second, third, fourth rounders, just
Sure.
depending on how good they are. Obviously, I don't think Jaden Roberts is a second, third, or fourth rounder, but
Yeah.
with the other guys, and is what I mean. That's all.
No, yeah,
So,
absolutely. I actually completely agree. And I mean, we saw it kind of get talked about with Alabama's QBs earlier in the Saban dynasty. They would all look amazing in college and then not really do a whole lot once they got to the NFL.
right.
And we're kind of just seeing that kind of play out again with the O line. It's working in college, which is great, but it doesn't translate, which is just a different conversation to be had.
Or you just have a Jalen Milrow who can run, and it
Well,
fixes the issues of the 4.3% pressure. And
I was
also,
about to say,
Jalen Milrow will also
changed it.
make that worse, make that
Right.
pressure rate worse a little bit.
Right. Yeah.
But
Well, they changed also that it was very different from their pocket passers they had had for however many years prior to
right,
that. So,
and they're
and
going
which they're
back to
back
one.
to now.
They're
Yeah.
going, yeah, they're going back to one now. So Ty
With
Simpson, we'll
Ty
see what you can
Simpson.
do, my guy.
Yeah.
Jake
Don't think
Slaughters
he's quite
from
as
Florida.
fast.
Yeah, right. Jake Slaughter from Florida. I want to say Slaughters every time I say his name, like he's got an
Yep.
S on the end of it. He does not.
Just one.
But Jake
Yep.
Slaughter from Florida. Um, someone ring my doorbell. Y'all hear that,
No, it's
guys? I
your
hope.
turn. Yeah.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. But no, Jake Slaughter from Florida is by far, and he would be at the top of this list. But I just thought we put the Alabama guys together and talk about them first.
Yeah.
But with Jake is funny because he's the most consistent interior offensive lineman I've seen. He has in my opinion, he has a late first, early second round grade. There's a good chance he will be a first rounder in this class. He is very, very dominant. He was dominant in the A&M, the Georgia, the Florida State games. Hey, look, I called both of us out, okay, in that little spiel, both
Deserved.
A&M and Florida State. He's got great feet, good hands, square and pass pro. He's asked to do basically everything and was solid at it all. High IQ player, pass blocking was a plus, and should only get better. He had 9 total pressures in 2 games. He had 6 of them, LSU and Tennessee. If he gets rid of those 2 games, he has 3 total pressures on the year, which is just freakish. Very capable run blocker. He's not a finisher, but he can play in any style, which is very nice.
Yeah.
He can run block in a zone or outside zone, a gap scheme, whatever you want.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Second level and screen blocker, sure, yeah, absolutely, can move like that. Once again, great feet to square players on the outside. He's gonna be, he's gonna be a Remington finalist to me,
Yeah.
no matter what. First round watch for sure.
Yep.
That's kind of how I look at this guy.
I mean, he's one of those guys, if you were just to Google him and look up accolades, you'd probably understand why he's rated so high. He was AP All American first team, AP All SEC first team, ESPN All American team, PFF's All American first team. He's got plenty of accolades that have shown what he was able to do last year. What was really funny, though, and why I love college sports so much is on his official Florida, their bio that they have for him on their website. The part of it listed, and I quote, was originally committed to FSU or Florida State and flipped whenever he received an offer from Florida.
Of course. Wow.
They let the
That's
rivalries
tough.
take over their bio pages.
That's so tough. Man, we'd waste him, so it doesn't matter. Shoot,
At
he's
least
being
last
wasted.
year. Maybe he would have transferred into Florida either way. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
But I just thought it was hilarious that they had to put when offered from Florida, decommitted.
Hey, I think we're better in the rivalry. I think we have more wins. I don't even know, honestly.
Probably. I don't know the all time.
It's close.
Actually.
I bet it's close. But let's go on because I don't want to talk about this anymore. Let's talk about a Texas A&M player, Armaj Reed Adams, right guard. Armage?
Yeah,
Marge. Okay.
I don't know.
Sorry, my bad. Is he French?
I don't know,
Armage.
man. I just know how
Reed
to pronounce
Adams.
it.
85.9 run grade, 75.9 pass grade, 10 pressures, 1 sack, 2.8 pressure percent. This is what I call the person mover. This is the people mover right here. He's 6'5", 330, and something we talk about in football is resetting the line of scrimmage. This man can do it. He makes the line of scrimmage 3 yards down the field. Just absolutely changes where it starts. Maybe the best run blocker in the class, honestly. So that's good to see. Versus Texas, he was throwing players, moving them. Alfred Collins was one of my favorite run defenders last year. Him and Alfred Collins were having wars. I mean, absolute wars. He's gonna finish you. He's gonna jump on, like, land and put his whole body weight on you, make you not want to play football.
Yeah.
And I love that power of the strength, point of attack, difference maker. Obviously, when you talk all the good things about the run plays, he's also got his deficiencies in the pass. And that has to do with the fact that he just is overly aggressive and doesn't wait and stuff like that. But I love what he does in the run game, so I'll just overlook it. I don't even care. I love what he does in the run game. And I think there you go. See, it's your turn. Nice. Switch up. He loves running, the inside zone and the gap scheme stuff where he gets a chance to just go one-on-one and maul people. That's what we love to see, and that's what he does really, really well.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, he's also going to have a very dynamic backfield at A&M this year with Le'Veon Moss returning and Ruben Owens being healthy, which should only highlight his ability to show that run blocking.
right.
Came from Kansas. He's been shown banging chairs on the sidelines. Not sure why, but that's his thing. So if you see him getting clowned on when A&M inevitably loses a game they should win, that's probably why.
Okay. Gotcha. The next guy is Iapani. Okay. Lalolu from Oregon. I believe that's right. Lalolu? What do you think?
I would have
Mia?
gone Lulu like Honolulu
Honolulu.
because
Okay, sure.
he's Hawaiian.
Lalulu?
Yeah,
Lalulu?
yeah,
Okay.
that's how I'd pronounce it.
Okay. Lalulu.
I'm no
From
linguist myself, but
Yeah, me neither, obviously. Center and guard here. 71.1 run grade, 80.6 pass grade. His pressures were 10, no sacks given up, and a 1.9 pressure rate, one of the best in the group.
sheesh.
I prefer him at center, but he does play guard if he needs to. He has athletic upside. He's a very good in space blocker. Got that, like, athletic ability to front people and square people up. Oregon runs a lot of outside zone and screens, so he fits in that offense. Obviously, that's why they picked him up. Pass blocking, at times he stands a little too tall, and I think that I mean, the game against Ohio State, he had a really bad day, but at least that was the first game. At least
No,
in the second game, he had a much better day, which I thought
no.
was good to see. A lot of quick routes and pocket moving plays, and he does well moving around in there, helping out the quarterback and their style of offense. So, biggest other issues, was he can miss with his hands a lot, and that's an issue. Just staying connected. He's not necessarily going to just grab hold. I think you should wear gloves. If your hands are out there, you're going to tear them up, and you stop wanting to hold people, I guess. So.
That looks painful, but I found it so interesting. He played center and right guard, so he's
Mm-hmm.
obviously got a wide skill set. He's a versatile guy. Not our first Oregon player on the list. I guess this list technically, but we talked about World too. So
Yeah, world. Yeah.
And you said he's going to be playing center mostly this year is the assumption, right?
They brought in Emmanuel Prognon. Sorry, not
Oh, that's
Prognon.
right. We talked
Emmanuel
about him on
Prognon
the
to play
transfer
guard.
video.
He's actually also top 15 interior offensive lineman, and he did not. We did not talk about him on this list, but he will be a guy that could end up being one of the guys we talk about in February, and in March. So
basically, Oregon's offensive line's insane this year.
very good. They were good last year, though. They lost both their tackles last year. They lost one of their interior offensive linemen, I believe. So they're still rebuilding, but they are very good.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah. More reload than rebuild, though.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. The next guy is Connor Liu out of Auburn. Plays center for Auburn. Pressure rate 9 total pressures, 1 sack, 2% pressure rate. First game I watched was Cal. Man, Cal had his number. They came after him, and it was not the best game, to say the least. Then I watched Bama, and Bama was a lot better. So kind of confusing because when you think Cal, you think they would be better against Cal, but yeah. Um, I don't like how high he plays and how
Sure.
he often misses because of it. That's not my favorite thing. He needs to do a better job of squaring up on players. He just never looks comfortable, in my personal opinion. And maybe that's just how he always plays. Because I'll be honest, when I played, I flailed my arms and I did weird shit. I'll be honest, it just is what it is. Was not the most elegant player in my time. So I understand this. It's just I also you also have to make the plays. You have to
Yeah.
do all these flailing and all this BS, and then actually get to the spot you need to be at and make the block. So he doesn't always do that, and I think his hand placement's bad and stuff like that. Currently, a large and somewhat physically imposing player, so I think that's good. But he just needs to add that technique and that consistency, and maybe a little bit of finesse that he just doesn't have in his game right now.
You know, the whole Auburn team looked uncomfortable the first half of the year.
Fair.
So I'm going to give them a pass for the early ones. Like they
Okay.
literally all just looked like they didn't want to play football. And then the second half of the year, they figured out, oh, Jarquez Hunter's a really good running back. And then everything else clicked. So, but really, yeah, I mean, he was 20th on the PFF rankings. He's obviously got the foundation set. Like you said, got the deficiencies he needs to work on. He's a smart kid, was a 4.0 GPA in high school. So it's not like he can't figure things out. He just got to put it together this year.
Yeah, that's fair. Next guy's Caden Green out of Missouri. Plays left guard. 11 pressures given up, 1 sack, 2.6% pressure rate. That needs to come down. So I have some of these other guys that I didn't say that to, but he plays with good pad level though. That's something I've been going against on some of these guys. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of high pads. Well, this guy's 6'5", 316, and he plays with good pad level. They're at the same height, basically, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
The shorter guys and the taller guy, he's coming down to their level. Problem is he doesn't have great athleticism. He doesn't have a great initial punch, but
Sure.
with his good pad level and his wide base and stuff, he gets in the right places.
No.
BC, Boston College, was getting inside and blowing him off the ball, though, and I did not like seeing that. And that's just because he didn't come off the ball. They came off the ball. They hit
No.
him. When he does get going downhill, though, he can reset the line of scrimmage. He's a better run blocker than he is pass blocker, in my personal opinion. Doesn't do it consistently enough, though. By far, his best plays are on the move when he's getting out there in space and moving. But he has some really bad hand placement, and he misses way too often.
Yeah.
Not that impressed by him personally.
That's
But
fair.
I think it's just, if he started doing the little things right, coming off the ball, doing those things, hitting, he'd do a lot better. He still has some deficiencies as an athlete, though.
Sure. I mean, at least, based on PFF, at least his score is, or overall metrics rating, however you want it, whatever word you want to use, went up 21 and a half points, went from 54 to
Yeah,
75 or 73, whatever it was. So he's obviously making those adjustments, or at least some of them. But like you said, he needs to take that big leap forward to really reach the projections that we know he's capable of reaching.
right. Um, all right, let's go to our dark horse. We only have one, only one.
Oh no.
Logan Jones out of Iowa. Look, I talked a little bit of mess about his teammate earlier, Jennings Dunker. I talked a little mess. It's okay because we come back. We love some Iowa. Also, don't you worry. No Iowa tight ends in this class, so I can't shout them out. But Logan Jones out of Iowa, center alignment, had an 82.3 run grade, a 77.2 pass grade, 5 total pressures on the year. I did say earlier to y'all, though, they throw the ball a whole lot less than they run the ball. So there's a whole lot less opportunities to get pressures. 0 total sacks, 1.8% pressure grade. He is such an athletic mover. I love athletic movers, guys. We've talked about it. Outside zone, screens, pulling, he can do it all. I really like, this is something that kind of gets overlooked at times. He has such great balance as a interior offensive lineman. When you are pressing on people and moving people and they try to throw you and different things, he stays on the blocks because he has good balance to keep those feet moving and staying in there. I think I think his great upside as a pass blocker. Like I said, they don't give as many reps. I really like everything he does as a run blocker, and I've got about 10 things that's how good, he's scheme versatile. He's a
Yep.
mean finisher. I mean, he just buries people. Athletic to square, so that balance that I talked about, that's good. He's powerful. He's got great hand placement. Had some problems with that. We've talked about that. Guy, we've had some guys that we didn't like the hand placement on. He can do it covered or uncovered, which means, because he plays center. Covered means that there's a guy that he has to like look at right across the line of scrimmage from him. Uncovered means there's no one in front of him. And so he can do it both ways. He really understands leverage and attacks it, and then he can block at all the levels because he's an athletic mover. We talked,
Yep.
So Iowa pipeline traits that that makes me excited about him, and he's improved every season. So another
Yep.
thing that makes me feel good about him.
Yeah, he also played defense in all through high school and in 2021. He only played 2 games because of injury, and he
Good.
played defense in both of them. He was an all-state defensive tackle as well. So clearly, he's good. That explains the athleticism. He also lettered in wrestling and track, and I believe basketball as well. Oh, track
It's
and basketball, not
impressive.
wrestling.
Super
Won state
impressive.
titles in multiple sports. Yeah, so guy's clearly an athlete. He's got the Iowa mold. Not as good of hair as his teammate, but seems like pretty good dog out there.
Yeah, yeah, he's got maybe he'll grow it out for us.
Yeah,
Maybe he'll
I
give
mean,
us
if he grows
something.
it out, he will absolutely skyrocket on boards.
Well, I mean,
So
look at his facial hair. I mean, I think it
he's
could
got
be,
he's got the
really,
mold.
really big.
Yeah, the
I think
foundation
he
is
could
set.
do it.
He's
Yeah.
got it.
I wonder if Iowa has like a thing against growing your facial hair out. Honestly, though, because I know we
Oh,
did
like
at
a
TOU
Yankees
when I
thing.
played. Yeah, not allowed to do that at some places. You
Yeah,
just got to make it like look nice, basically. So that's
right.
possible.
I don't know.
But yeah, that's our video. Let me stop sharing. Tight ends, interior, offensive linemen, offensive tackles. We appreciate you hanging with us if you're still here. Lots of guys that are coming up. We're going to be doing the interior defensive line and the edge video. We were going to do the whole front seven, but then we realized how big the interior defensive line and the edge video was going to be, and we said, hey,
Yeah,
we can't be here all night.
right.
So we'll get to that next, and then we'll do the back end players, the linebackers, the cornerback, safeties. If you haven't seen our quarterback, running back, wide receiver video, it already happened last week, so go check that out. But there's a lot of fun stuff coming up. Me and Cam have been doing best ball, and we're doing fantasy videos. We just released our first fantasy rankings video, quarterbacks and running backs. We're going to be doing the wide receivers and tight ends later on this week, so you'll be able to see that. But yeah, lots of stuff coming out.
Yep.
Super exciting time. We're almost to football season.
Come join on Thursdays for live streams. I'll be in the chat
Please do.
talking about Arizona Cardinal players and drafting too many of them.
Way too many. 6 of them last time, I believe.
Yeah,
That's a
but
lot.
the stack work. Whatever. Save it for Thursday.
It's fine. Yeah, we'll just talk about that later. But no, we appreciate y'all hanging out with us. Please, if you have anybody that y'all really like that we didn't talk about, put them in the comment section so that we can check them out. We can even do shorts on them if you really want that. And then also, they might be the guys that they're your dark horses. They might skyrocket up boards. We might be talking about them in March when that all comes out. So we will see y'all in the next one, but we really appreciate y'all hanging with us.
Thank y'all very much for joining us.